What's going on, Ravens Rundown? Welcome into the show. I am your host, Joey Petersen. Thanks so much for joining me on this fine Tuesday evening. We got producer Jack hanging out with us. We got about an hour of awesome content we have to get into. Everything off-season based because, unfortunately, the Ravens are in the offseason. Hell, 30 teams are in the offseason, okay? I'm not going to be that mad about it. I'm still trying to get over it. So on today's show, we're talking Ravens cut candidates, and then we're going into some free agent targets I think the Ravens should be targeting over the next couple of months and when free agency starts on March 11th. And then coming up last, my favorites, Jack's favorites, your favorite segment. Everybody loves it. The live Ravens mailbag where you get your chance to get on this show. All you got to do is ask a question. Before we get into any of the action, I want to hear y'all. I need to hear you guys down in the comment section. Shout him out. Name a Ravens free agent. I guess not a Ravens free agent. Name a free agent you want the Ravens to sign when free agency starts. It can be as crazy as, I don't know, T. Higgins. Hell, it could be Ronnie Stanley. It could be one of our own. Just name one you want Baltimore to go after. A little bit of a hint. We're going to talk a little bit about Khalil Mack today, okay? I know you saw him on the thumbnail. We're going to talk about him. He might be my top guy at the moment right now. I think there's a lot of intriguing options. Also, when you look at the safety position, we'll talk all about those in just a little bit. Don't go anywhere. We got a lot of great stuff to get to on today's show. Also, while you're in here, make sure to like the video as well. 41 people watching. We got 11 likes. Let's get down into the comment section. Cam Carnevale says Eagles fan for the next 2 weeks. If you look at the poll, it's 68% Eagles, 32% Chiefs. We got an Eagles fan in Cam. She also wants Khalil Mack. Linwood Drake Jr. says the Eagles are going to whip Mahomes. Linwood, I don't know, my friend. That one, I don't know if anybody is going to whip Mahomes, like when it comes to postseason games. I know Tampa Bay did like 4 years ago, but again, that was 4 years ago, and this is a very new Chiefs team, very new offensive line. It's going to be a good game. I'm really excited about it, though. Carlos Eduardo says trade for Tyreek. Interesting, Carlos. Bring the cheetah into Baltimore. I like that one, my friend. High wants Chris Goodwin. I believe you mean Chris Godwin, nonetheless. I agree with you. That would be an awesome addition in Baltimore. We got a lot more to talk about, a lot more to hear from you guys as well. But before we do that, we got a couple of sponsors we need to give shout-outs to, starting with our good friends over at Game Time. And Game Time has an awesome feature. It's called Game Time Picks. That makes getting tickets to live events even easier. Right? Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals and great seats. That way you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. And the other sponsor of today's video is our friends over at Prize Picks. And the big game's almost here, so that means it's now or never. Don't miss out on the last football game of the season with our friends over at Prize Picks. It is the best place to win cash while watching the big game. And you know what's awesome about Prize Picks is they're giving away one free square for the Super Bowl, and that is right there, Mr. Patrick Mahomes. All he has to do is throw more than half a yard, and that square wins. So go over to Prize Picks, take advantage of that offer by downloading the Prize Picks app. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you just play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. The link to this promo and the other promo, they both are in the comments of today's video and description. Prize Picks, run your game. So we talked about it earlier. It's coming up in segment 3 on today's show. But if you want a chance to have your name, picture, whatever you want right here on Ravens Rundown, you've got one, okay? Just use hashtag Ravens in the comment section. Ask me a question. It can be about anything. It can be about the draft. It can be about free agency. It can be about trades. It can be about this last year. It can be about the next year. It can be about my dog. It can be about Jack. It can be about anything. If you got a question, though, you got to use hashtag Ravens within the questions. That way our software can filter it. That way we can put it up on the screen so you can see. Say that again, Jack. Carlos, let's see. Great question. Great question, Carlos. Just use hashtag Ravens in that question, and we'll get it up on today's show. Also, make sure to say it again. Sorry. Great. Perfect. Yes, thank you. There we go, Carlos. Way to do it, my friend. Hashtag Ravens. I've been seeing something about Jaire Alexander going to Baltimore. Would it be a good fit for the defense? Great question, Carlos. I'm going to answer it quickly right now. I'm going to go into it a little bit, into it deeper in just a little bit. I do think it'd be a great fit. He hasn't played a ton. He's missed a good amount of time over the last 4 years or so because of injury. But man, he's got a really good relationship with Lamar. Obviously, went to college together. I'm actually going to be talking about it on tomorrow's video, doing a little bit of deeper dive on it. But great question, appreciate it. Keep getting those questions in there. And also, if you've already liked today's video and you want a shout out, go ahead and type those me's in the chat down below. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button, and then if you do, type me and I'll give you a shout out. Every single like counts, every single comment counts, every subscriber counts. So if this is y'all's first time tuning in, welcome into the show. We do this every single day. We go live every single Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern time on the dot. You can absolutely guarantee that we will be right here. So make sure to join us next week, the week after that. Y'all know the rest. And like today's video. A lot of really good questions. Savivi, I see your question. I'll get to that one. Hi, love that question as well. Great questions from all of you. Really appreciate it. We're off to a hot start already with the mailbag. Make sure to like it. Okay, my goal when we come back is to have double what we got right now. We're about to get into our first cut. The goal is to have 30 likes on the back end of this cut. I need you guys to help me out to do so. All righty. Jack, are we ready to roll? Jack says we're ready to roll. I'm ready to roll. Hopefully you guys are ready to roll. Coming up first, also Joseph, you just said hashtag space A. To get your question on the show, you need to have hashtag Ravens in there, okay? So make sure to do that if you want it in there. All righty. First cut coming up, we're talking a little bit of cut candidates. Who's on the chopping block for the Baltimore Ravens? Find out soon. Welcome into the show, everybody. You're watching Ravens Rundown. If this is your first time finding us on YouTube, first off, happy that you're here. Second off, make sure you hit that subscribe button, okay? We do weekly live show. We do daily videos. And everything this offseason is going to be dialed up. We got offseason coverage, mock drafts, free agency signings, all of that and more. And we're currently sitting at 28,830 subscribers, only 170 away from 29,000. I need your help to get me there. So if you don't want to miss a moment on your favorite team and you want to find somebody and be a part of something that covers them better than anywhere else right here on YouTube, make sure to hit that sub button. Alrighty, it's time for some guys on this team, in my opinion, to keep their head on a swivel, okay? Because Pro Football Network, they named the top cut candidates for all 32 teams in the NFL going into the offseason. But of course, we only cover Ravens here. So let's talk about what Ben Rolfe had to say on the Baltimore Ravens heading into NFL free agency. He said the Ravens do not have many obvious options they can cut to save cap, which is far from ideal with only around $13 million in cap space. A lot of their cap-saving moves will likely come in the form of restructures or extensions to shift money out of the 2025 salary cap and into future seasons. And we talked about that a couple of days ago about how if you're going to have the money to sign a free agent, to really do much at all in this offseason, hell, even get back Ronnie Stanley or a couple of other guys, you're going to have to cut some people. You're most likely going to restructure some people. But on today's episode, we're only talking cuts. So let's talk about the number one cut candidate to keep an eye out on this upcoming offseason, and that is Mr. Kyle Van Noy. Ben Rolfe had this guy as the number one cut candidate for Baltimore. To hear more about what he had to say. There are really only two options that stand out as potential saving more than $2 million while making sense. The biggest cap saving among those is Kyle Van Noy, who has a cap number of $6.1 million in 2025 and just $1.6 million in dead money if they were to move on, right? So you heard it right there. Let's take a little bit of a deeper look at the financials of it, right? That cap number going into 2025, which is basically what his contract, the impact on the cap, okay? $6.1 million. The cap saving for cutting him would be $4.5 million, like was just said by Ben. You would lose about $1.6 million in dead money. So if you cut Kyle Van Noy, you'd save almost, $5 million? You'd save about $4.5 million. That is easily the highest amount for a guy you could cut going into this offseason. That's why we're talking about him first. But I want you to let me know before I dive into anything, should the Ravens cut Kyle Van Noy? Give me a yes, give me a no in the comment section down below right now. You know what? It's an interesting topic of discussion because you look at the 2024 stats and the 16 games he played, and he had, maybe at age 33, the best season of his career. He led the team with 12.5 sacks. He had 21 QB hits, 47 QB pressures, and 14 tackles for loss. And my take on Kyle Van Noy and how he might fit in 2025 and how he did fit in 2024 is this team struggled heavily getting to the quarterback in 2024, okay? They struggled mightily in 2025 in the couple of games they played in the postseason and in that final game against the Browns. And Van Noy was one of the only bright spots of that entire group. Okay, so in my opinion, if you're looking at a pass rush group and you're looking at a defense and who, while they did really well in sacks and things of that number, you're looking at a guy who's 33 years old and he was far and away the brightest spot of that unit. Okay, and I talked about the sack number and the sack percentage, and we've talked about it over the last week or so. It looks good. Those statistics, in my opinion, mask the true problems because you're second, you're fifth. But then when you take a little bit of a deeper dive into it and you look at more of the nitty-gritty statistics of how easily did you win pass rushers, right? How easily did you stop the run? They weren't that great. 29th. Okay, in pass rush win rate at 33%. They were 26 in run stop win rate, only 29%. They didn't pressure the quarterback well. They allowed 2.88 seconds until they got pressure on a quarterback, which is dead last in the National Football League. And when it comes to Kyle Van Noy, in my opinion, I think they extend him, overcut him. Okay, if I was Eric DeCosta, I'd extend him before I cut him. He's a guy on this roster, and he's a guy that has been so much and meant so much to this team in 2024 with how easily he did get to the quarterback. And he did sack the quarterback, okay? Ben Rolfe had a little bit more to say about Kyle Van Noy. He said Van Noy finished the season with 12.5 sacks, leading the team, despite only playing 55.7% of the defensive snaps. Noy's deal, it would not be a major surprise to see the Ravens extend him, spreading some of that cap hit into 2026 and beyond rather than cutting him. And so let's talk about, should they extend Kyle Van Noy? Because he's had 21.5 sacks in 2023 and 2024 combined. Okay, that's most of anybody on this team. Again, he led the team in sacks this last year, and we're talking about leading as well. It's not just the number, but he's just one of the leaders of this defense. He's just a guy that this team tends to rally around. But then you also look at the age. And upcoming in March, he'll be 34 years old. And it's not often that you see pass rushers have success late into their career. So that's also something to monitor. But in my opinion, I think Baltimore should extend him. I think they need to keep him around. I think he does so much for this team, and he had such a great 2024. I don't think he'd be that expensive, and I think you go pass rusher early in the draft. Let me know, though. Cast your vote. Do you want Van Noy to stay? If so, show me by liking today's video, hitting that thumbs up button. That's how I'm going to know. Okay, if you want him here, if you want him to stay in Baltimore, I'm going to know if you like the video. I got to talk real quick about the sponsor of today's video, and that is our friends over at Game Time, and it is the best place to get tickets to any event on the planet. And you know what? Ladies and gentlemen, it is playoff time. It is Super Bowl time, and I can promise you there's nothing that can quite compare to the rush and excitement. You're watching your team win a big game either at home or on the road, and if you want to have that memory for the rest of your life, I promise you that is where Game Time can help out. Game Time has an awesome feature. It's called Game Time Picks, and that makes getting tickets to your favorite teams and favorite events live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so that way you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. The tool highlights the best deals, including great and amazing deals, which is the best value seats at the time. For some events, Game Time Picks also identifies a super deal, which is the best seat value in the venue. And I want to talk a little bit about that Game Time Picks button. Guys, it is so easy. When you click into an event, you see it right there at the top of your screen. All you got to do is press that, and it filters through the entire database and gives you the best value at that current event and in that current venue, right? You can see right there, if I wanted to go see the orchestra on Saturday, 8 p.m., I could buy a seat in the row L of the orchestra level, $76. That is a top 1% value. You can only find that with our friends at Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. The link to this promo is in the comments and description of today's video. Download Game Time today. What time is it, ladies and gentlemen? Of course, it is game time. So we talked Kyle Van Noy. Now it's time to talk number 2, and that is our good old friend Arthur Maulet. Okay, Arthur Maulet kind of had an up and down 2024 season. We'll talk about that in just a little bit more. But let's talk about the financials at this moment, okay? Because you'd be saving some money. You wouldn't be saving near as much money as you would with cutting Kyle Van Noy. His cap number is only $2.5 million. It's only a $0.2 million dead hit. Okay, so it's less than $1 million if you do cut him. That would be the dead hit. But you would save $2.3 million if you cut him before June 1st, okay? And that's why, guys, I kind of see this one happening. And again, you wouldn't save a crazy amount of money, only about $2.3 million. But also, when you look at what Maulet did in 2024 and what he meant to this team, when it comes to actually on the field, it wasn't that much. Only played in 3 games, only had 72 snaps, 5 tackles at a coverage grade of 50.1, and he battled through injuries for all of 2024. But is that enough of an excuse to warrant not saving $2.3 million, right? Is that one of those things that you look at and you say, okay, right, you battled through injuries, let's go ahead and not save $2.3 million. Like, I don't think that makes sense, especially in the cap situation that Baltimore has going on right now. Now, if they were like the Washington Commanders and they had $90 million in cap space going into this offseason, then I could see them maybe saving Arthur Maulet and keeping him on this roster. But if you cut him before June 1st, right, and save over $2 million with the production you got from him in 2024, and in my opinion, I think they need to make new strides in that secondary. Keep the core the same of Wiggins, Humphrey, or Darius Washington, Kyle Van Hamilton. Other than that, in my opinion, it might be time to trim the fat. That might mean getting rid of Arthur Maulet, and I think that I could see that happening. I think that I would not be surprised if this team makes that move before June 1st. Pick one out of those two for me, though, okay? Who would you rather cut? Would you rather get rid of Kyle Van Noy, or would you rather get rid of Arthur Maulet? Let me know in the comment section down below by typing KVN, type in AM. Which one would you rather get rid of? Let me know. Number 3, and I know, this guy we talked about a lot over the past, 10 days since the loss against the Buffalo Bills, but I got to put him in here as a cut candidate just because of the actual money you would save by cutting him. Now, I don't necessarily think they're going to cut him, but let's talk about it, okay? He's entering a contract year. He's set to earn $11 million. He's a $5.9 million dead cap hit. It's $16.9 million cap hit. That is his contract. He's also at a $4 million roster bonus in mid-March. But here's the question. Is he better gone? Because Baltimore could save $11 million if he is cut or if he is traded. So you got to talk about him as a possible cut candidate because you could save $11 million if you cut him. But I don't think that there's any shot that he gets cut. I just don't. Like Mark Andrews, I don't even think there's any shot really that he gets traded. He's too much of an asset to this team. He's too much of an asset in the past to this franchise. Guys love him way too much. John Harbaugh loves him way too much. Hell, Lamar loves him way too much, okay? And if he is going to get moved on from this team, if this team and this front organization and this front office is going to move on from him, they're going to do it by trades. So that way they can possibly get something in return. I promise you. They're not just going to cut him. I know it could save him $11 million, but guess what else could save him $11 million? Them trading him, okay? I think he's going to be one of those guys that gets his contract restructured. I think they're going to put a little bit more money down the line, and that's going to open up some cap space for this next year. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. This has been the Ravens Rundown. I am your host, Joey Petersen. Daily videos for the entire offseason. That's what you'll find right here on Ravens Rundown. So hit that sub button. All righty, there it is. First cut done. Boom. 31 likes. I challenge you. You came through. Appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen. I said 30 likes by the time I look back at the screen. Y'all did it. Appreciate you guys. Really do. All right, let's get into the comment section. 619 Cali Factor said Van Noy is staying. He signed a 2-year deal last season. I know that 619, but they could save a lot of money if they cut him. They really could, man. Carlos said, I vote in. He had a great season, but I don't know. He is getting old. He is getting old. That is true. But he did also lead this team in sacks. He was pretty much the only one that could consistently get to the quarterback. Kennedy, my wife is in the chat. I don't know if she's still in here. She was there just a little bit ago. She said, Lamar Jackson is on the chopping block. Can you touch on this? I heard a rumor. Don't worry, guys. Kennedy's lying. Lamar Jackson's not on the chopping block. She heard no rumors. Cam said, bro, stop yapping. Cam, don't you bro my wife, my friend. Braden Cosley said KVN. Carlos says Mark has to go. Varl says get rid of Marcus Williams. Okay, Varl. We've got a ton of people in the chat right now. Appreciate every single one of you guys. Y'all keep letting me know of those two guys which you would cut. Having a little bit of monitor issues. Let's see. Yeah, it's shut out, but I'm plugging back in. And still not back. That's okay. We'll do it all on one computer. Interesting. The monitor it had a couple of flashes on and off. Is it maybe that this is, oh, I think I see. I think it may have just been getting plugged. The plug moved a little bit. Producer Jack's here to help us out, guys. This is why they pay him the big bucks. That's why they pay him the moderate bucks. Henry Dubadinry said, okay, I like that. Wait. I think we're back. And boom. We're back. Everybody thank Jack. B stands for Baltimore, guys. He got a different Orioles hat. It's red and it's navy. And it's a different kind of B. Orlando said he's in decline. Got to make some tough decision. Liked or not, do we want to win or not? Orlando, is that what you're saying about Mark Andrews cutting or trading? Or are you talking about KVN? Walt says I got the referees on this one. Let's go back to that poll. Chiefs are still losing, and who is going to win? They're losing 34% to 66%. Guys, that surprised me a little bit because I would rather, I don't know which I'd rather win, but I think the Chiefs are going to win. I really do. But I don't know. Y'all disagree, but that's okay. All righty. We're going to go ahead and get into our second segment. Coming up on this second segment, we're talking a little bit of free agent targets for your Baltimore Ravens, who I think is available that could be of use to Baltimore, who I think Baltimore might actually go out and try to get a shot to land. Jack, are we ready? Perfect. Let's do it. All righty. Free agent targets coming up for you guys right now. We're starting off today's video with a question to you guys, the fans, the viewers. Name a free agent down below that you want the Ravens to sign. It can be anybody, okay? As crazy as, I don't know, T. Higgins, or you could do one of our own. Put Ronnie Stanley down there. You guys just let me know and get us started by getting in the comment section. On today's show, we're talking a little bit of free agent targets, okay? The top free agents at the Ravens' biggest positions of need, okay? So I'm going to give you 4 of their biggest needs. We're going to go into each one of those, and we're going to talk a little bit about who I think might be available that can help Baltimore make a run for the Super Bowl next season. Let's start with the biggest areas of need, okay? I added one to this list from last week when I talked about this, okay? Number 1, I think edge rusher is at the top of the list, okay? I think that when you look at this team, sacks, they did a good job at sacking the quarterback, but they did a very poor job at actually getting to the quarterback. Number 2, you got offensive line. That changes if you sign Ronnie Stanley. I think that goes down a peg or 2 in this order. And then behind that, you got secondary. We're going to talk cornerback and safety. And then last, wide receiver, okay? I think Zay Flowers is great. I think Rashad Bateman's great. I would love another game-changing wide receiver in that depth chart, okay? As of right now, the Ravens are sitting at $12.72 million in cap space. They're on the lower end of pretty much everybody in the National Football League, okay? They are, I think, sitting around 23rd right now in the NFL. They're not as low as some other teams, but you look at teams like the Commanders and the Raiders, they have almost $100 million of cap space, so they don't have as much room to maneuver, but they could do some sort of things, and they could get a little bit more, okay? We talked about this on Tuesday, and if they cut Kyle Van Noy, they could save $4.5 million. If they cut Arthur Maulet, they could save $2.3 million. And if they trade or cut Mark Andrews, they could save $11 million. So if you do all 3 of those things, you're adding about $17 million to that number, and then things open up a little bit. But I don't think they're going to do those. So let's get into the video, talk about starting with edge rushers, okay? Top edge targets, in my opinion, are these 5 right here. Khalil Mack, Hassan Reddick, Matthew Judon, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Josh Sweat. And when I look at that list, okay, I really think, honestly, I'd love anybody of those 5 besides Hassan Reddick. I don't want Hassan Reddick. 10-foot pole between me and Hassan Reddick at all times. But then you kind of look at that list a little bit deeper, and you see a common theme that they're all kind of getting up there in age, right? Khalil Mack's 33. Hassan Reddick's 30. Judon's 32. Lawrence is 32. Josh Sweat, he's really the only young pup of the group at age 27, but he's no spring chicken himself. But then you kind of get to thinking of the fact that this seems to be a theme in Baltimore. Baltimore over the past couple of years has kind of had an affinity for taking flyers and signing older edge targets, older pass rushing free agents, and kind of revitalizing their careers in a sense. Kyle Van Noy is coming off a 12.5 sack year, his most in a single season. Prior to this year, he'd never had double-digit sacks. Okay, Jadeveon Clowney, in the year of 2023, had his best season to date. Okay, former number 1 overall pick, had a fantastic year in Baltimore. And then Justin Houston, before either of those guys, kind of had another revitalization of his career when he was in Baltimore. So could they be doing that again with any of these guys at those kind of high ages for this game of football? My favorites of those 5, if I had to pick 2 of them, are Khalil Mack and DeMarcus Lawrence. Okay, I think Khalil Mack, from a talent perspective, is, besides Josh Sweat, but in my opinion, Josh Sweat's going to be a little bit too expensive. Will probably be somewhere around $10 or $12 million. But I think Khalil Mack, from a talent perspective, is better than any of those other guys. I think he could do wonders in Baltimore, and I think that he would fit right into this defensive scheme and everything Zach Orr has done so far in his tenure as defensive coordinator. DeMarcus Lawrence, I like him because he could be a really strong asset, but he also isn't going to cost you a lot, okay? I think that Khalil Mack would cost you a little bit more than Lawrence does. But of all of those 5 guys, and I wouldn't mind any of them besides Hassan Reddick, I think Mack and I think Lawrence are my 2 favorites. You let me know in the comment section down below, of those 2 guys, pick one for me. Okay, would you rather have Khalil Mack? Would you rather have DeMarcus Lawrence? Let me know in the comment section down below. You might get hit with a YouTube ad break. When that time comes, go down to the comment section, find this pinned comment, and reply with a KM or DL. Let's go to number 2 on our biggest needs going into this offseason, and that's the offensive line. Okay, we're going to start looking at interior offensive linemen because as of right now, Ronnie Stanley is still on this team, and until he's gone, we're going to talk interior, okay? Here's the top free agent interior offensive lineman. Trey Smith with Kansas City. Will Freeze with Indianapolis. Tevin Jenkins with Chicago. Kevin Zeitler, familiar name, with Detroit. James Daniel with Pittsburgh. And all of those names sound good and well. But in my opinion, with the lack of cap space that you have, and when you're looking at interior offensive line, it's not like the biggest red flag. I don't know if you're going to have that kind of money to spend. And in my opinion, I think that money is kind of spent better elsewhere. Let's look at tier 2, free agent interior offensive linemen. Guys that might be a little bit cheaper. You'll see one of our own on this list in Patrick McCarry. But Mekhi Becton, Brandon Sheriff, Zach Martin, Aaron Banks. Now, a lot of those guys kind of share the same thoughts of the pass rushers, and they're getting up there in age a little bit, especially when you look at a guy like Zach Martin. But in my opinion, someone in tier 2 would be fine. I think they'd be cheaper. I think that they'd be serviceable. And it's almost like you're saying, you know what, I'll take a rental. And in my opinion, you take a rental on a guy for a year. You draft somebody in this upcoming NFL draft at that interior offensive lineman position. You groom them for a year with a guy like Zach Martin, with a guy like Mekhi Becton, and then you insert them into the lineup the next year, okay? But then again, if Stanley is gone, offensive line turns to tackle as the priority over the interior. But as of right now, Stanley, I guess he's not a Baltimore Raven because he's going to be a free agent March 11th. But as of right now, Ronnie Stanley, in my opinion, should still be coming back to Baltimore. I got a lot more free agents to talk about coming up in just a second. But before I do, I got to talk about the sponsor of today's video, and that is our good friends over at Prize Picks. And guys, the big game is almost here, and it's now or never. So don't miss out on the last football game of the season with Prize Picks. It's the best place to win cash while watching the big game. Prize Picks is also giving away a free pick for the big game, where Patrick Mahomes will only need to throw 1 yard to win. And if you're correct on at least one more stat projection, you can win real cash. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. Prize Picks is doing you a favor. They're doing me a favor. They're doing producer Jack a favor. They're giving away one free square. So if you want to win at least one square and pair it with another one, go ahead. Patrick Mahomes, all he has to do is throw more than a yard. So take advantage of it, ladies and gentlemen. Sign up today, get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need a win to receive a $50 bonus. It's guaranteed, and you can now earn up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. So again, download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks. Get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. The link to this promo is in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, run your game. On to number 3. We're talking a little bit about the secondary. And honestly, now that I think about it, I feel like secondary is probably above offensive line, okay? So I'm going to switch those two in my mind. They're going to be in this order still in the video, but secondary I think is going to be a little bit more important going into the 2025 season than offensive line is. And let's talk about that. Before we do, I got to give a little bit of shout out to what we got this week on Ravens Rundown. It's going to be a loaded week. We're talking trade rumors. We're giving mock drafts, all of that, all the offseason coverage you could want, you could find right here on Ravens Rundown. Also, every Tuesday we go live 5 p.m. Eastern Time. If you weren't there for this last one, be there for this one. I promise you're not going to want to miss it. To make sure you don't miss it, hit that sub button. Let's start with the top free agent corners on the market. DJ Reed, by large, the top of that list. Then you got Charvarius Ward, Rasul Douglas, Carlton Davis III, Asante Samuel Jr., all the way down to Paulson Adebo. And in my opinion, of all of those guys, I think some guys can be serviceable, and I think some guys could do well. But I would kind of rather address cornerback in the draft or by trade. Okay, I think, and I talked about this last week, but I think Jaire Alexander might be a legitimate possibility. He's a guy that I would like to look at. And if you're not going to trade for one, then I think this upcoming draft has a lot of good cornerback talent, and I think Baltimore addresses it there. So let's talk about safeties, okay? If you're not going to get a cornerback free agent, maybe you'll get a safety one. And this is a list that I like a little bit more because, in my opinion, these guys just seem a little bit more affordable. Not the Javon Hollins, but when you go down, you look at the Trevor Morey or the Jeremy Chins. I think that's where this team needs to go. And I think just in general, if it's not either of those guys, this team needs to go safety and free agency, okay? I think that you could pair Kyle Hamilton, you could pair Ardarius Washington with just another solid piece for that back end, and I think that would do wonders for this team. And Ben Solak of ESPN, he agrees. He said the Ravens' age and lack of speed in the secondary nearly swamped their season, and they'll be desperate to avoid a similar trap in 2025. They'll go out to free agent safety Trevon Moehrig, who had a strong contract year with Las Vegas, and Jeremy Chin, who's a great Kyle Hamilton foil to revitalize the core of their defense. And kind of like with the edge rusher position we talked just a couple minutes ago, it's kind of been a theme to sign more veteran safeties in Baltimore and kind of give them better back ends of their careers. You did it with Earl Thomas. You did it with Eric Weddle. And before Marcus Williams turned into a pumpkin last year, he was great kind of coming in the back of his career, all right? So this is a theme, and I think it's one that Baltimore kind of plays into, and I think they go Chin, or I think they go more, okay? Sound off in the comment section for me. What is Baltimore's biggest need going in to this offseason, okay? I've got them listed. I'd love to know if you guys agree with me. Let me know in the comment section down below. We've hit 3. Time to do our final one, and that is wide receiver, okay? We've talked about this a couple times over the last couple weeks, and there's some pretty good wide receivers. It's not super top-heavy. T. Higgins is really the only guy on this list that's going to get a ton of money. But when I look down at this list, I've got 3 guys that have really got my sights set on, okay? Let's start with Keenan Allen, okay? 6'2", 211 pounds. I know he had a down year with the Bears, but everything that they did offensively was just a massive question mark. I think he's got a lot of good years left in his career. I think one of them could be in Baltimore. Let's go a little bit younger. Let's talk Josh Palmer, wide receiver out of Tennessee. Sure, I'm a little biased. I watched him in college, but still, he's got a fantastic catch radius, and I think he's a guy that will be a solid wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 for the rest of his career, and I think he would pair perfectly with a guy like Rashad Bateman, a guy like Zay Flowers, and just be kind of a different look of wide receiver on this team, and he's still young. He's a guy I would love to go after. And let's go back to older a little bit. DeAndre Hopkins, okay? Who knows if he wants to leave Kansas City? It might not be his choice if he's going to leave Kansas City or not. And I know he's a little bit older, but what he's done in that offense with Patrick Mahomes being a deep threat option for Mahomes, with his size, with his just catch radius, with his veteran leadership, I think he'd be great on this roster. You got a lot of young wide receivers. I think this is a chance to pair them with an older guy that can do a lot for this team still, okay? And all of those guys, they kind of have one common thing. I want a wide receiver that's different than Bateman and different than Flowers in the way that they're a little bit bigger, they're a little bit more of a deep threat, they're a little bit more of a jump ball fade end zone guy. I don't think Baltimore has that guy on their roster right now. I think Keenan Allen, I think Josh Palmer, I think DeAndre Hopkins could be those guys. And I just think that this team needs to address wide receiver. We saw what happened in the playoff game, right? Zay Flowers goes down. Sure, Rashad Bateman stepped up, but like outside of that, Isaiah Likely was great. But you just didn't really have much more in the wide receiver room. I think this team had a wide receiver 1 in Flowers, a wide receiver 2 in Bateman, and I think they had a wide receiver 4 or 5 in Nelson Aguilar. I need a wide receiver 3, and I think any of those guys could be it. Thanks so much for watching today. Really do appreciate every single one of you guys. Make sure you hit that sub button to stay up to date with the latest on the Baltimore Ravens. From me right here on Ravens Rundown. So if you have not already, join the flock today and subscribe. 2 cuts down. We got 1 more to go. You know what? I didn't give you a challenge, and we're at 43 likes because of it. My bad, guys. I know you guys need to be challenged. I know you guys like to be challenged. But hey, that's on me. That's on me. What is Baltimore's biggest need going in the offseason? Let me know down below. Alan says need another corner. I agree, Alan. I agree. I said it, I said that I should have probably put it a little bit higher. Should have put it should have been edge rusher, corner, offensive line, wide receiver, in my opinion. SC said nonsense. We have Nelson and Bateman. I agree. Bateman's fantastic, SC, but if you look at Nelson Aguilar's stats this year, he didn't have a game receiving over 50 yards since September 22nd, and he only had it once. He caught for more than 30 yards one time since September 22nd. That was against the Browns. He averaged 16.5 yards a catch. So, and he didn't even average much a game. How much did he average a game? Let me tell you this. 2024 yards per game. Here it is. Oh, that's not even yards per catch. That's yards per game. He averaged 16.5 yards a game. Okay. That's not good enough for me for a wide receiver 3, and I know you agree. Alrighty. Ravens King says secondary. Deshaun86 says, we do have a number 3 wide receiver. People just sleeping on them. We drafted him last year. Dude, I get what you're saying, Deshaun, and I think Tez Walker can be that, but he caught one ball this entire year. Anthony Miller got a catch in a playoff game, and Tez Walker didn't. Okay, I'm not saying that he's going to be a bust, but I think it's a little bit of, I just don't know if it's very fair for him, for us to just assume he's going to step up and he's going to be a wide receiver 3 this year. That is a big jump to make for a guy who caught one pass. I get it. It was a touchdown. It was awesome. It was against the Giants. The Giants suck. But, come on. I think we're kidding ourselves if we're expecting Tez Walker to take a massive step to wide receiver 3. We got a $10 super chat from my man, Lil Bryson, saying Eagles going to run all over the Chiefs. Man, I don't know. If you guys saw my prize picks for last one's ad read, I actually had the less on Saquon Barkley rushing yards. Dude, Spags is he's the best. He might be the best assistant coach, best coordinator in the game right now. Sure, you could argue Ben Johnson, but he's a head coach now. But, dude, Spags is great, man. Someone just needs to hire him as head coach just to get him out of there. Yeah, he's a psychopath, man. Everybody spam those LBs in the comment section down below. Lil Bryson, appreciate you, man. Miss seeing you on the watch parties. I miss doing the watch parties. It's going to be a very long, 7 months? I guess we'll do our first ones in early August, so it'll be about 6 months. But, man, it'll be sad. Pat DeCorvo, I picked KC, but I want Philly, but I'm thinking there's a reason that he was on the Madden cover with Brady. Lamar and Ravens will take it next year and be the home team. Go Ravens. Pat, I hope you're right about the Ravens, and I think you're right about KC. I like KC winning that one more than I do Philly. Okay, Jack, how are we doing on questions? Okay, so we just need a couple more questions. Use hashtag Ravens if y'all have a question for me. Ask a question, use hashtag Ravens, ask the question. Or if you want to super chat like Lil Bryson did, can be $1, can be $2, can be $100, whatever you want. That will guarantee your question gets on today's show.
And let's ask questions about free agency.
Yep.
Players in the draft.
Yep.
Things like that. Trades. Jaire Alexander. Oh, we actually already have a question about that. But if you want to ask about specific players, things like that, let's ask questions like that. Let's get some good questions in there.
Yep, I agree. Thank you, Jack. Get some good questions in there. I think we've got enough to start, Jack. Y'all keep getting them in. We're going to go ahead and get into the cut, but by all means, make sure to keep getting those questions in, and because we can populate them in real time. So use hashtag Ravens. Ask me a question, anything you want. Draft, free agency, trades, offseason, anything about last year, anything about next year, whatever you want, whatever you got, hit it with me down below. Great question from Vari. Vari, everybody be like Vari. Fantastic question. Okay, we're about to get into it. We got 45 likes. When I get back, we have to have 60 likes. We're having 60 likes or I'm shutting the channel down, okay? It's up to you guys. Let me know. Jack, you ready to roll? Let's do it, baby. All righty. Live Ravens mailbag coming at you right now. If you guys have not already checked out our Tuesday evening live shows, they are a blast. And every question you're about to see on today's episode was actually asked on that live show. So if you want the chance to be on this episode in the future, join us 5 p.m. Eastern Time every single Tuesday. Ask your questions, get a chance to be on it. And you know what? Hit that subscribe button to make sure you never miss it. I'll shout out the first 5 subscribers from this video on Tuesday's live one. Alrighty, let's start with our first question of the day. Coming in from Savivi. Hope I'm pronouncing that right, my friend. Hashtag Ravens, why isn't Lamar participating at the Pro Bowl? Great question. Came out earlier this week. I believe it was on Tuesday that Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, both of them, will not be in the Pro Bowl. And honestly, I think it's just to focus on next year. I think he is so frustrated with how this last season ended that the last thing he wants to do is surround himself with other people in the NFL. I think he wants to a little bit of cocoon himself, for lack of a better term. I think he wants to use all of his efforts, all of his energy over the next couple of months to just work on being better and get this team to new heights next season, okay? And so I think he might see being in the Pro Bowl as a little bit of a distraction. I think he might see it as another way to media to pick him apart of he goes and loses to the playoffs, then he goes and have fun in the Pro Bowl, all that stuff. You know, they're very nitpicky on Lamar. But I think that's why I think he's just laser focused, locked in, and ready for what's to come next year. Next one, Coop the Loop. Second week in a row with Coop asking a fire question. Says, what do you think about the Ravens signing Khalil Mack in free agency? Coop, great question. I would love it, okay? I would love it. We talked about it just a little bit ago. I think we talked about it a little bit ago, sometime this week, of the Ravens having a theme of older free agents when it comes to pass rushers, right? You saw it with Kyle Van Noy, okay? He's about to be 34 years old. He just led this team in sacks. You saw it last year, 2023, with Jadeveon Clowney. He revitalized his career. And then Justin Houston had a late, awesome effort with Baltimore. And so they have this theme of going after edge rushing targets that most people might think their career's over. Most people think they're over the hill, and they usually get the best out of them. I don't think it would be any different with Khalil Mack. I don't think he'd be incredibly expensive. He is 31 years old at the moment, so he's getting up there in his career. He's dealt with injuries. I think that will lower the price tag. And for what Zach Orr does with this team, and for the lack of success that they had this last year in pressuring the quarterback, right? We've talked about it. They were great at sacking him. They were great at getting him to the ground, but actually pressuring him on every other snap that wasn't a sack, they heavily struggled. All right, so I would love Khalil Mack. I think he'd be a money sign. Make the call for me in the comment section down below. Should the Ravens sign Khalil Mack? Let me know by typing sign or pass. Type sign, obviously, if you want to happen. Type pass if you're like, I'm good. Up next, we got a question from Ravens King saying, hashtag Ravens, I'm glad we re-signed Todd Monken. That was really huge for our offense. I'm trying to win a Super Bowl. Ravens King, I could not agree more with you, my friend. I'm trying to win a Super Bowl as well, and I think Todd Monken is the way to do that when it comes to offensive production, right? Everybody's got to come together as a team, and the players have to do their jobs and not turn the ball over, not make silly mistakes like we've seen in the past playoff games. But, man, having a guy like Todd Monken in that coaching staff, in that coaching room, seeing what he's done for Lamar Jackson in his career as a passer, nobody ever thought in the year of 2018 when he was drafted that he would ever throw for more than 4,000 yards in a season. Guarantee you it, okay? And he did this year. 41 touchdowns on the year on only 4 picks. What he's doing for Lamar, what it means for Lamar to be consistent with an offensive coordinator that isn't named Greg Roman, to have the same guy in his ear, have the same guy at practice, I think that's massive. Every franchise quarterback needs that. That's exactly what Lamar Jackson is. And so I think having Todd Monken in this coaching staff for years to come, ultimately, knock on wood, will lead to a Super Bowl. Next up, we got High. What's up, High? I still need to know how High does that. That's like, I've got no clue. I've got no words. Sweet name, though. Hashtag Ravens. Who will you draft with our first-round pick? I think you mean who would I draft. I wish that was Will, because that would mean I actually had the choice. I really like the edge rusher, James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. And I get it. I'm a Tennessee Vol. A little bit of homerism there. But, man, I think what he does and the speed that he has and just the ceiling that he has, there's a reason that he was mocked before this last season for Tennessee as the number 1 overall pick to Carolina. That's what everybody was saying in the summer. Now, he didn't get to the quarterback and sack the quarterback as much as you would have liked, but what he did was he pressured him. Okay, he was in the quarterback's grill. He was in the quarterback's backfield every single snap. He's got an unreal athletic ceiling. He's so quick off the jump. It also doesn't help that guys like that, when they're that good, they get double-teamed every single snap in college. So you usually see a little bit of dip from junior or senior year, like exactly what you saw with Will Anderson. I think James Pierce Jr. would be amazing if he falls to Baltimore 27, which I think he might. I would do anything to snag him, okay? Up next from Moggs, hashtag Ravens, is Andrews eligible for a pay cut contract-wise? Yeah, you can always restructure somebody's deal, and I think they're going to have to, and I think they will. You could cut or trade him. That'd save you $11 million, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think they want Mark Andrews on this team. I think Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh, Eric DeCosta see Mark Andrews as the future of this team when it comes to if they're going to compete for Super Bowls. But yeah, you could give him a pay cut. You could restructure the contract. You could put more years on it, put the little bit of more of the money on the back end of it to clear up a little bit of cap for this summer and going into this offseason. Would not be surprised at all if they made that move. Coming up, we got more questions to get to, but before that, I got to give a shout out to the great friends we have here on the Ravens Rundown at Game Time. You know, if you want last-minute tickets, if you want views from receipts, if you want the lowest price guarantee, if you want all those things in your ticket buying experience, then I got to tell you, you got to go check out Game Time. All right, today's show is sponsored by Game Time, ladies and gentlemen, and it is almost time for the big game. I can promise you there's nothing that could quite compare to the rush and excitement you feel watching your team win that big game, either at home in your home stadium or on the road in a neutral site. And if you want to have that memory for the rest of your life, that's where Game Time can help out. The connection you feel to your team, city, fellow fans around you in those electric playoff environments leads to bonds that last a lifetime. Game Time has an awesome feature. It's called Game Time Picks. That makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats. That way you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And I know I don't look like it, but guys, I'm a big fan of the orchestra, okay? And if you want to go see the orchestra, the Baltimore Symphony, I should say, you can go get tickets on Game Time right now. And if you use the Game Time Picks button right there at the top of your screen when you click into an event, they've got an awesome deal, top 1% of value. That's what they like to call a super deal when you could sit, like 7 rows from the stage for only $76. So to see it, this deal is still available, go to the Game Time app. Go try to find that. And you know what? Go ahead and use code ChatSports for $20 off. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and redeem code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. The link to this promo is in the comments and description of today's video. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? It's game time. We got one from my man, Yee Kaw. What's up, Yee? Good to see you, buddy. Said, hashtag Ravens, I'm down for Tank Lawrence joining the Ravens, although I think he wants to stay with the Cowboys. But if we do snag him, he always has been a very productive player for his age. Yeah, and I think you made a really good point at that top. Right? I think he's a guy who wants to be a Cowboy for life. He's been a Cowboy for life. He loves being a Cowboy. And when you're paired on that defense with a guy like Micah Parsons, that takes a lot of pressure off you when it comes to double teams, triple teams, and things like that. But also, a lot's changing in Dallas. And I think a lot of people, a lot of players, a lot of fans are kind of growing weary of what that organization has proved to be over the last 30 years. And I wouldn't be surprised if Tank Lawrence maybe want a little bit of change of scenery. We all know Jerry Jones doesn't pay people well. okay? He likes to be cheap. That's why he hired Brian Schottenheimer as the head coach, alrighty? He's a cheap guy, even though he's one of the richest guys in America. I don't think he would treat Tank Lawrence any differently, and if you could get him for a little bit more than Dallas is willing to pay, I say do it, man. I would love it. Up next, we got one from Michael saying, #Ravens, who do you think we will sign in free agency? We just talked about Tank Lawrence. I wouldn't bet we sign Tank. I would bet we sign either an edge rusher or we sign a safety. Okay, I think that this team might address, I would love if they also sign a wide receiver. I think they're going to address the offensive line needs in the draft. I think they're going to address probably wide receiver needs in the draft as well. It is a pretty deep wide receiver class. And so I think they're going edge. I think they're going safety. And with that edge, we talked about it. There's 5 guys that I really like: Khalil Mack, Tank Lawrence, Matt Judon. Don't really love Hassan Reddick, but he's available as well. And then Josh Sweat. I think any of those guys could be realistic opportunities. Look for Jeremy Chin with the Commanders. He had a really great year. He'd be great to pair with Ardarius Washington and Kyle Hamilton. Coming up, we got Carlos Eduardo 802. #Ravens. I've been seeing something about Jaire Alexander going to Baltimore. Would it be a good fit for the defense? Carlos, great question. I think it'd be a fantastic fit. The one thing you got to worry about with Jaire is he's missed a lot of times due to injury. Over the past 4 seasons, this last season was no different, okay? He had an LCR issue, he had an issue in his knee, and he hurt it after, I believe, like week 7 against the Jaguars, and then was out for the rest of the season. Had arthroscopic knee surgery on New Year's Eve, and then Matt LaFleur announced on New Year's Day that he wouldn't be joining the team unless they made a Super Bowl run. And then he talked at the end of the year, locker room cleanout day. He said, man, I don't know if I'm going to be here next year. And then he said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything. So it seems like that relationship might be souring in Green Bay. So look for him to possibly join Lamar Jackson, his former college teammate in Baltimore. #Ravens coming from Moggs. Am I crazy for wanting one of these running backs in this class to be King Henry's protege mid-draft? Fantastic question, Moggs. I don't think you're crazy at all. Like, not one bit. I think that this is a fantastic running back draft class, okay? You got Genty at the top of it. You got Jack's main man, Cam Scattaboo. You got Dylan Sampson. You got the guy from SMU. I'm blanking on his name right now, but you got a lot of solid running back prospects. The deepest running back class, in my opinion, that we've seen in years. And if one of those guys falls to you at round 3 or round 4, hell, especially round 4, and you got an extra comp pick, take a flyer, take a chance. Have him play behind King Henry for a year. Have him learn from the best. And then maybe in a year or two when Henry's contract runs out, or unfortunately if you don't re-sign him, maybe that guy could come in and be the new King Henry. There'll never be a new King Henry, but maybe you can get a guy that can be close in this year's draft. Great question. Last question of the episode coming in from Snappy Salads. Should the Ravens draft Jalen Milroe after his comments? I knew one of you guys was going to ask me this question. Great question. If you didn't hear the comments, this is what Jalen Milroe had to say just a couple of days ago when he was compared to Lamar Jackson. He said, that's inspiring for sure. As a young QB, that definitely puts a smile to my face. I definitely love watching Lamar. Secretly, I'm actually a Ravens fan. I grew up a Ravens fan, so I pull for the Ravens. Interesting comments from Jalen Milroe. I don't think they should draft him. Maybe. I don't know. Like, Jalen Milroe he's so Jekyll and Hyde. If you look at his games like against Wisconsin and then that first half against the Georgia game, he was phenomenal. He still has one of the best deep balls in college football, in my opinion, but he struggles so heavily in those intermediate routes, man. But he's such a talent with his legs. He reminds me a little bit of, like, honestly, I mean, there's a reason he drew comparisons. I think he struggles passing the football a little bit more than Lamar Jackson did. But I think we see what Lamar did this year with Baltimore, and we assume, man, and we look back to the college days, and we're like, oh, he probably was just as good as a passer. He wasn't, guys. He wasn't. Now, Milroe isn't as dynamic with his legs. He's not as quick and he's not as agile as Lamar is, but he's still a force to be reckoned with running the football. I wouldn't mind if he's available like 5 or 6. I don't know if he will be. I don't think he will be. But just to take a flyer, get him under Todd Monken for a couple of years, maybe he'll be a serviceable backup and he can give you something similar in that offense, and knock on wood in case Lamar goes down. But I don't see it happening. Would you do it, though? Let me know. Should the Ravens draft Jalen Milroe in the 2025 NFL Draft? Type yes, type no in the comment section down below. Let me know your answer. This has been the Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Joey Petersen. It's been an awesome, awesome week covering this team. So blessed to do it every single day for you guys. We got more coming up tomorrow, day after that, day after that. Y'all know the drill. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Alrighty, that's it. 3 up, 3 down. We've got 60 people still in here, 51 likes. You know what? I said 60, I'll take 51. I appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. Jack, you got anything for the crew? Would you draft Jalen Milroe if you were Baltimore? Let me know.
I mean, realistically, how many years do you have left of Lamar?
Dude,
I see at least 5-6 more years.
yeah, exactly.
So
possibly even more.
So, I mean, maybe as a backup.
Yeah,
sure.
Exactly. That's the thing.
Be like, I don't know if, unless you're getting him like 6th, 7th round, I don't know why I would waste a draft pick, even like a 4th or 5th round draft pick, on a backup.
Yeah,
because you're going to get Lamar. Knock on wood, Lamar doesn't get injured, but you've got at least, in my opinion, 5-6 more years of Lamar.
Yeah.
So you're not going to like Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes this thing where you're like going to give him a year or 2 on the bench and then he's the next quarterback. Like Lamar is going to be the guy for the next half decade.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I wouldn't.
Yeah, it's interesting. You are in one of those spots where you're not like the Giants. You're not looking for a quarterback. You're not like Las Vegas. But you're also not in any of those spots where you're like looking for the future either. You have the future. Your future is still young. You've got 5, 8, hell, 10 years left of Lamar, God willing. And so I don't think if he's there at 7, just like Jack said, sure, do it. But if you're doing it anything before 6 or 7, I think it's a waste of a draft pick, in my opinion. Carlos says yes. Vari says yes, get rid of Josh Johnson. Yeah, I mean, you just got to hope to never use the backup. That's all you got to wish for. But if Milroe's there again at 7, I'd take him. If he's not, don't bother. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. This has been the Ravens Rundown. I am your host, Joey Petersen. That'll do it for this edition of our live show. Join us next Tuesday. We'll be live again, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. You guys know the drill. Our first video today will go up on the channel very shortly, so if you missed it or if you watched it, no matter what, go in there, like the video, get in the comment section, watch it again. Hell, just like you're watching film. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you again tomorrow. Till next time, let's go Ravens.